when I first started wholesaling houses, Zach was one of the creators who I was binge watching. Zach is one of the creators that everybody binge watches. How many people in this chat here? We have 230 people live with us. TikTok's about to pop off. I'm hoping to get 500 people in here. But how many people in this chat, you look up how to wholesale real estate and Zach comes up? Okay, there's a lot of me's. There's a lot of me's in the chat. Guys, when you look up how to wholesale houses, there are two people that come up. First, Jerry Norton. Second, Zach Ginn, and his father as well. So, he is somebody who's publicized this business model. I mean, wholesaling is not immensely known, but the reason so many people are getting into it is because of this man right here. Zach, how many deals do you think you've done? I wanna use that. We in the thousands, multi-thousands? Oh, we're muted. I can't hear you.
Oh, I see it. There we go. About 2,700.
2,700 deals closed. So guys, when I first started wholesaling houses, I'm binge watching his content. Every single day, I'm going on YouTube, I'm watching Jerry Norton, I'm watching Zach, I'm watching his dad. And you and your dad, I mean, in high school, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know too much about this story, but you guys, when you were a high school student, started wholesaling houses and started this YouTube channel together, which became wildly successful. How did that happen?
Yeah, so I was 17 years old, and basically my dad's he's always doing good wholesaling, but he was like a 500K a year wholesaler, but he's been doing it for like 21 years. But basically 17, he work in a grocery store, and my dad had like a $25,000 assignment check on the desk. And I'm like, how do I do this? And he said, just go try to find a deal. I go on YouTube, and I couldn't really find anybody. There were certain people, but they all had their $14,000 programs. And I basically went to his bookshelf, saw a lease option book, read that, read a wholesaling book, and all these books from my dad's crazy. Like, he has books from the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s about wholesaling. And I figured out Bandit signs, and made about $100,000 before I graduated high school, and all doing Bandit signs. And then my biggest problem with that was I actually had code enforcement on my tail. They hired 7 people on a task force to stop me on Bandit signs because I was making so much money in Florida. And I got a full ride scholarship to go to college. So I went there for 2 semesters, and I figured out I can't do Bandit signs in Gainesville. And I'm like, crap, what do I do? And then I learned cold calling because my dad only did direct mail. And so I started cold calling my dorm room, made about $250 a year doing that. After 2 semesters, I'm like, man, I gotta go back. And so I figured out, I don't know how young y'all are, ProctorU. I figured out that I could take all of my tests at UF on the laptop, and nobody knows because every lecture is recorded. So I didn't have to be there, and I could keep my full ride. I just had to keep a 3.5. And I came home, I did school at night, and I just wholesaled during the day. And basically that's what I did. And then I started implementing newer strategies with my dad, and we just kind of built our own business, went 50-50 after that. And my biggest claim to fame, I don't think a lot of people know, is Rick made a lot of money wholesaling direct mail. And this is perfect timing. In 2018, this new method called texting was a thing for $400, Lead Sherpa, $400, unlimited texts. And I just abused that thing. I was sending millions of texts a month. And it was just disgusting, man. And then I used all that money back in the business, and the rest is history.
Wow. Guys, that is a story if I've ever heard one. So Zach has been doing this for upwards of probably 2.5 times as long as I have. He's got way more deals under his belt. He also has a portfolio of his own. He has a community of his own. We're going to link all of his social media platforms. And then we're going to bring you guys up for questions. But we want to dive into the ways that Zach is doing deals. Because there's so many different strategies in wholesaling. We talk about cash deals in here. We talk about creative finance in here. There's lease options. He mentioned that briefly. And then there's also a million different ways for you to go after the deals. I mean, are we sending text messages? Are we calling agents? Are we sending mailers? We want to talk about all of the ways so that you guys can inform your decision. What is going to be my path? How am I going to generate leads? Is it going to be inbound leads? Am I going to get people to call me? Or am I more so going to other people and saying, hey, are you interested in selling your house? And I'm paving my own path, so to speak. So, Zach, now you mentioned that you had started out text blasting, or was it with mailers? Or bandit signs?
So,
bandit signs.
Yeah, all bandit signs.
It was with bandit signs. So you'd get these bandit signs from the internet, branded bandit signs, or would you draw on them?
Oh yeah, Home Depot draw, and then I went to a sign company and just print them locally.
Okay, so essentially you draw on them, you get a sign company to print hundreds of these, you stick them all over town, and people start picking up the phone saying, hey, I want to sell you my house, and you're able to get that at 60, 70% of ARV and turn that into a wholesale deal.
Oh yeah, man. It was the cool part about it was kind of up and coming market. Like I just got so lucky where I was. Like not a lot of people know where I'm at. It's called Port St. Lucie, Florida. I know it sounds crazy, and I kind of say this like everyone thinks of like, I think what you're like in Portland, right? People think of like these whole areas of populations. Like I think of Portland, right? Population's what, like 700,000 roughly in that metro. How many of those are what I call wholesalable homes? Barely any. Like anything below 450 that you can really wholesale, right? Like you can't, like you can do Salem, like that's pretty much it in Oregon. There's some other areas, but like in Port St. Lucie, every house there is worth between 100 grand and 400. And it is just, and they're all concrete block homes. They're all built by the same builder, and there's 200,000 of them. So it is like, it's just as big as any big market. And it's just, dude, the money's crazy there, man. But no, I got really lucky. I started sticking bandit signs outside of my high school wrestling tournaments. And for some reason, every high school in Florida is right by a busy intersection. And I just got really lucky. And that thing blew up like crazy.
Interesting. So bandit signs were how you started. What are you doing now? Or actually, I should say, how did your marketing methods change? Because I used to be doing direct to seller. I don't really do any direct to seller now unless it's off of social media. You started with bandit signs. What did it eventually turn into? Are you still on bandit signs?
No, like, man, I went to college and I figured out I couldn't wholesale where I was because I was 3.5 hours from home. And then I figured out this really sucks, but like that Gainesville wasn't a good market. And so I'm like, dang. And I look up strategy, I'm like, because Rick, my dad, not you, or are you Rich? I don't know what you go by. But basically, he only did direct mail. And so I'm like, what do I do? And I just got Mojo and just started cold calling the list, just regular lists from List Source. That's how old I am now. List Source, 3 cents a hit. And it was good, man.
So is that what you guys do now? Do you guys cold call now with a team of acquisitions managers to find your leads?
Okay, yeah. So we have 3 business, like now, 3 businesses pretty much. I have a local wholesaling business for Florida. I have a virtual wholesaling business in about 15 markets. And then I have a JV business, which is probably my biggest one right now. It's that part's just nuts. That's where a majority of my deals this year are, just from doing JVs. But that's pretty much the majority of it right now. So most is going to be calling, texting, and direct mail. Top 3, bar none, for in Florida. Virtual is mostly going to be cold calling. Texting's, dude, the stir shaking's getting a little tougher for texting. I'm having a lot of success right now, though, because of how this whole political election cycle is. Everyone watching this probably gets 5 texts a day from right-wing and left-wing candidates, and they all have that press stop at the end. And so if you text it, they're used to it. They're used to the press stop at the end, so it like doesn't bother them as much. And so I'm finding this year the texting's kind of been a little better. We've been changing our opt-out with the new regulations to just like, would you want to stop? ? And it kind of passes Twilio now. But right now, calling majority of the deals we're doing, like virtually, and then JVs is just from the course.
Now, as I remember it, I was text blasting. We were doing about 5,000 texts per day, and I got hit with some major restrictions on my account. And essentially, what we learned is that there were some TCPA compliance laws that we were just having a real hard time actually crafting a message that made sense. Like, you're sending a message to the homeowner, and in order to be compliant in it, this was just an incoherent mess of a message. But you've essentially figured out how to continue to text blast legally, abiding by the TCPA compliance, but you're also now doing cold calling, perhaps pulling lists, and having acquisitions managers dial those lists, or are you dialing them yourself?
No, I got a whole team doing it, man. I'm too busy. But the way I do texting is a lot different than I think how anyone does it. I call it double whammy. So the way TCPA and all so TCPA is fine for wholesaling. A lot of people get hit with lawsuits and I go to court. I have about 6 or 7 case studies from big wholesalers being sued for TCPA. As long as you're not a real estate agent, you're fine. But with texting, what I do is basically every text platform. If you use Twilio, you got Verizon, T-Mobile, and what, AT&T, right? They look at an algorithm, and I call it the teenage girl algorithm. And the reason I call it that is how does the algorithm know if a teenage girl is texting somebody? Because a lot, like I look at the demographics, who sends the most texts per month? It's teenage girls. They send on average, I think, 30 a day times 30, almost 1,000 outbound texts every single month. And then I look like a grandma, she'll text like 30. And how do they know that I'm texting the seller or a business is? And the number one way they find out is, do you text back? So if a grandma texts somebody, usually grandson texts them back, and they know that's not spam. If I text 1,000 people, they text me all back, they know I'm not spam. I'm just a very active social guy. And so what I started doing was I started putting messages out there that got like 90, 95% response rates. And it was just texting, hey, Richard, I just drove by your house on 123 Main Street. Is everything okay? It went insane. 95% response rates, never got spam. And that's basically what I teach people to do today.
That's fascinating. Guys, I didn't know about this at all. This is new information to me. I haven't text blasted for a year and a half. I mean, we are solely going to agents, but there's a spend associated with it. I mean, there's spend in the actual list that you're pulling. There's spend in the service that you're using to actually blast. And then you're also paying for acquisitions managers, or perhaps they're on commission?
Yeah, so local acquisitions guys are at 20% commission, virtual 15, and then JV is going to be, I mean, they're not really, they're more dispo, so they're going to be like 10, 15%. So there's no cost for texting. So the reason I do what I do is to teach people how to text for free. Now, you can pay for texting, but for most people, I'll tell them use Google Voice. And my method for Google Voice is if any Joe Schmo out here does Google Voice, they get hit in 5 minutes. If you send 5 texts an hour for 10 hours, that's 50. Now, if you have 4 or 5 Google Voice numbers, which all you have to do is get like family members' phones and connect them, you can send like 300 texts an hour for 12 hours, and then you start doing serious volume. Google Voice doesn't have any opt-out language, so completely free.
Interesting. I had no idea, guys. This is a fascinating. This is a fascinating strategy.
And I started attacking markets that nobody on YouTube was talking about that had big populations. So I think famously, I on YouTube, I ranked markets and I called every big market. I said Fayetteville, Richmond, Virginia, Hampton Roads, Knoxville, Tennessee. And I just told people, I'm like, hey, find military bases and do the markets around there because they have 200,000. And you have landlords that just rent out to military people and they buy things like hotcakes. And the cool part about landlord buyers is they don't really care about ARV or, hey, what's cash flow? Oh, that changed the game for me. And then I just started doing that. And then the influencers came out and copied me. And then boom, the market got saturated there.
Guys, I think I've been called out. I definitely copied Zach. I saw what Zach was doing.
Anyone can copy me. Like I don't care. The saddest thing I think ever happened for me was I started doing Oklahoma City, and I didn't tell anyone about it. And this one girl started talking about it, and it got me so mad because right when some people were making videos saying Oklahoma was illegal to wholesale, I started doing that. I said, okay, let me wholesale there. Then all the virtual guys left, and I read the law. I'm like, oh, no public marketing. It didn't ban wholesaling, and I went crazy in there. And then the influencers came and saturated it. So that's been the next secret. When somebody makes a video calling wholesaling banned, I just, like South Carolina, I did 5 deals in South Carolina the month it was illegal with a lawyer. No problem. And so I'm waiting for somebody to make a video saying some market's illegal, and then I'm just going to go in there and do deals there. That's the secret for everybody in here.
Interesting. So at this point in time, you're doing some cold calling. You know, have you entirely stopped the Bandit signs, or is that something that you still
stopped in high school?
Really? And is it not even a method anymore, or because there used to be so many people who talk.
Not my mark. Remember, there was a task force. So code enforcement hired 7 people to stop me. I was putting out hundreds of Bandit signs every single week. I had kids. I hired them. They sent me pictures of the Bandit signs. I paid them $2 a sign. It was really bad. Like it got really out of hand because I was making so much money doing it. Like 150 grand for an 18-year-old's disgusting. And so that's all I did. Like that was my life. And then like that, it got taken off. They hired 7 people, task force, and they never got caught. The reason I never got caught, for anyone that has Bandit signs, is usually what they do is they call you pretending to be a seller, and then they get your name, and then they fine you 4 or 5 grand. What I did was they said, "Who's your name? What's your company?" I said, "Do you own this house?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, I own the house." I'm like, "Give me the address." And they gave me the address, and I said, "Do you work for code enforcement?" And I said, "If you lie, that's perjury, right? Like you're lying. Like you can only do this in a law enforcement position of doing something criminal, so they can't lie because they're kind of civil agents." And they're like, "Well, what's your name?" And they always asked. They knew who I was, but they had to catch me. And so the one time the head of code enforcement called me, and he said, "Who are you?" "I know who you are." I'm like, "I just answer the phones." And they're like, "Give me the boss." I'm like, "I just answer the phones. I give it to the company that does the signs." And I pretended I was an answering service, and they never caught me. And to this day, code enforcement still has never caught me on it.
So why can't you do this virtually? I mean, is it possible to put the Bandit sign, virtually in some of the other markets that you're working in?
I just don't think it's worth it anymore because you can hit, some markets are $10 a violation. And if you get caught from a bad VA giving the company info, like it's a $4,000 or $5,000 fine. And you're not going to beat that. Like it's technically illegal. That's the problem. It's against code to do that.
Interesting. I still see
It's called
them
bandit sign. You put it down, you're a bandit, right? Like you're technically breaking the law, but you're not. It's a civil penalty. So
I never knew why it was called the Bandit sign. It's not really a method that I ever attacked. We did do text blasting for some time, but honestly, I'm gonna be real. I failed at text blasting. It just and that is not because the method doesn't work. That's because I wasn't figuring it out. That's because we were outsourcing too quickly. We were hiring acquisitions managers. I wasn't learning the craft myself, and I completely failed at text blasting. Sure, I did some deals here, but my spend on leads and text blasting, I wasn't doing your method. So guys, I think there's definitely something to look into here with his Google Voice method. I've never even heard about that before, but I got to learn about the current operation. I got to learn about the structure. But you mentioned you have a JV business, you have a local Florida business, and then you also have the virtual business. Let's start with the local one. What does the local business look like today?
So local business, hate to say, like it's just mostly direct mail. So me and Rick basically developed our own postcard, and I'm not selling it. I'm not even telling anyone to get it. It's just this is our you can copy it yourself. I don't really care. Direct mail is one of the most saturated things ever. Every home investors guy, they spend 50, 60 grand a month, like the big markets, just sending postcards out. And the problem I found was we started making less money every single month on postcards. We buy houses cash. Like it wasn't working anymore. So what I started to do was we put offers on postcards. And so it says, "Hey, we have an offer on your house." Flip it around, there's an offer. Your offer is 170 grand. The reason is we basically gave the Zillow value and we put like 10% below that. So everyone wants the Zillow value for their house, but do you want it below what a realtor would pay? So like at that point, you're willing to take less than what if you just listed it on the market right now. And then though that was good enough to get enough callbacks, but not be too high. And our response rate was like 1.5%, 2%, which if you ever do direct mail, that's like 15x what you're used to. And that just blew things up. And we still do it to this day. We have a little algorithm for it, and we just send offers. And we always say, "Oh yeah, we can give you 170 grand. We just got to we're giving you the best offer right now. Like we're assuming it's the best. There's no like issues. There's no AC problems, no flooring issues." They're like, "Well, I kind of have that." I'm like, "Okay, well, our offer is going to be a little different. Let's come out there and let's have a conversation." The problem is if your seller has 12 postcards, who are they calling first? The guy with the offer. He's the most serious. So we kind of steal a lot of the car guys. We basically steal most of their stuff and implement it for wholesaling.
Interesting. So, because what you said caught me off guard at first. I was like, wait. You're texting, you're mailing people, and you're offering them
Mhm.
about 10% below Zillow value. But that's your
Yeah.
initial outreach. That's the initial like, get me interested in this offer. You hop on the phone,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like, oh yeah, that offer's assuming that you're renovated, you've done the roof, you've done the HVAC. It's not destroyed inside, but we all know how that goes. I mean, you
Oh, yeah.
qualify that lead and it's like, well, it needs a little bit. And I'm like, no, you have a lab in the basement that produces crystals. And
Oh, yeah.
this is not where our offer is going to be. So essentially you use that initial offer, which would work if it were in that condition. Would work, maybe quotations would work, but you talk to them about it, you find out it needs some repair. And then that essentially gets you to the point where you can make a reasonable offer at, what do you do? 70% of ARV?
Don't get me started on this, man. Um, I don't ever use the 7% ARV thing. I think it's the stupidest thing because
Really?
my local market's 400,000 or 500,000 average house. So, like, if you want to do the math, if I get a house for 70% of 500 grand, what is that? 350? Maybe I'm doing my math wrong. 350. So let's do the math here. If I get a house for 500 grand ARV, and let's say it needs 40 grand repairs, I get it for 70%. That's 350. I put in 30 grand repairs. Okay, 380. I list it for 500. I pay 10% for BS, minus off my 380. I'd make 70 grand. I make 70, 80 grand. And if you bump ARV up, you make even more. And the average flipper is not making 80 grand. So I have my own formula. It's ARV minus repairs multiplied by a multiplier. The reason is I try to get the highest ARV possible. Sorry, highest MAO possible. And what I teach people to do is just offer 70% off the MAO as your initial offer. We call it LAO, not MAO, LAO. And my biggest thing is when people get their first deal, if you basically go on my YouTube, nobody on YouTube gets people, I mean, maybe you, but like their first deals are 50, 60, 70 grand. Because they do just teach people to just make low offers. And if you can offer it the right way, you're good to go. The way I kind of describe it is like, have you ever been to like an expensive like dinner, like a $300, $400 dinner?
I've never had food before, no.
No. Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So, dude, what's the difference between Nobu and like chili steak, man? It's the presentation, dude. Right? That's it. Value is basically on presentation. People are willing to spend a stupid amount on something dumb because it's presented the right way. Same with the food. And so if I present an offer the right way, even if it's lower than the other guy, they're going to take my offer. Same thing you probably deal with MLS offers all day. And so if
Interesting.
you can present the low offer the right way, make a lot of money.
That's so interesting, guys. We're literally talking about this 2 days ago. We're talking about
Oh
how
yeah.
to convince an agent to accept seller finance. Nobody wants payments for their house, but you make them realize that they need payments for their house, and it's in the way that you say it, guys. It's in the way that you say it. I'm curious though. So what's your, because when I was doing seller outreach, they say, oh no, I'm going to need a lot higher than that. What's your approach? I mean, what, obviously you have acquisitions managers doing it now. You send them the letter. Do you walk them through what your deal would look like? That's what I used to do. I used to say, okay, perfect. No, I buy your house at this much, and then I notice your neighbor's house sold for this much. I put this much into your house, and now I'm in it for 300 and I sell for 290. Is that sort of what you were thinking? And then they say, oh, and it kind of changes their expectations. But I'm thinking you have a different strategy. How do you talk to them in the right way that makes them okay with the offer below market value?
Yeah. So human beings make decisions on three levels. They do it on an emotional level, a logical level, or a fear level. That is the three ways people make decisions on doing something: buying, selling, marrying, whatever it is. Emotion, logic, and fear. That is the way it does. So 80% of people make decisions off of emotion when buying something, usually for wholesaling, 15% off of logic, and 5% off of fear. And so my acquisitions people go off of that basis. First, we go on the emotions. Hey, your house is ugly. You want to get rid of it? Well, just imagine getting out of this. We buy it cash. You don't have to deal with this stupid house anymore. Oh, wow. Emotions. This is our offer. We negotiate. Boom. Then you got the logical person. Then we get in the comps. And the fear is, hey, I got to buy 2 more houses this month, and I just bought one, and I'm going to buy another one. I have an appointment right after this. If you sign it now, I'll cancel my appointment. If not, this offer's done, and I'm not going to buy it. So those are the 3 ways I do it. So on the emotional aspect, I just go off of the pain point and then present the offer and sign it there. Then if you logic, then I'll do the logical thing. But before I meet them at the house, I condition them. That's what I call. So the worst thing possible, I know you deal with on market, is when a seller says like, maybe I'll think about your offer. That's the worst one. And so what we do is we just condition the seller. We say, hey, Mr. Seller, are you ready to make a yes or no decision on selling it before I go meet you? So I don't give an offer unless someone's ready to make a decision right now.
Wow.
So we call it getting friend zoned from the seller. We'll think about your offer. You follow up. Oh yeah, I'll think about it. Maybe. And they just kind of lead you on. Like, hey, are you ready to make a decision? And the reason I do that is because when you meet with them and you give them an offer and they say, oh, I don't know, I'll think about it. Then I go off of like people. So most people in Florida that I deal with are older people from New York. And a lot of New Yorkers are like, oh, I'm on my word. And so I say, hey, I'm a man of my word. I said that I was going to make a decision and give you a legitimate offer. You were a man of your word and you said you were ready to make a decision. What's going on? You said you were ready to make a decision. Are you a man of your word? And people's egos flare up. No, I am a man of my word. Yes, I will make a decision. I guess I'll take it.
Wow.
And dude, you get so many maybes, man. You get sick of it.
Guys, there's an entirely different game that I'm just now realizing on the other side of this acquisitions. I mean, when you sign a listing agreement with an agent, you're saying, I am ready to sell my house. There is no question as to whether or not you are considering offers right now. But with off market, it is a very, very different game. It's a very different game. And yes, this is recorded. You guys will be able to watch it at a later date. We're going to send it over to Zach's team and he'll edit it. We're going to send it over to my team. You guys will have 2 videos and the raw recording for you to rewatch at a later time. But this is absolutely fascinating to me, just hearing the psychology behind what drives a seller to make a decision and what words you're saying to essentially put them in a position to make a decision right then, right there. Now this started out with a question about the local business, and now it's kind of gone into the negotiation tactic for everybody who's reaching out to you. Is this the same strategy that you're using locally with and in your virtual business?
Yeah, I mean, virtual is a lot more high stakes. Like it's a lot more like virtual. It's like, hey, we got to get an agreement first, then we'll come by the house because the other way around never works. And the problem is I'm competing with local guys and other virtual guys, so it's way more saturated. In person, we get a phone call inbound. Hey, can I meet you in 3:00? And I always make it seem like everything is a coincidence. Hey, I'm actually driving by a house on another street over. Is it okay if I swing by 4:00? Boom. But in virtual, it's like, okay, this might be something we might want to do. First, we have to get in. Then I get in the whole, like, I tell them how to do it. It's different than in person. Hey, we got to get an agreement first, and then we can go by and see the house. Unfortunately, just that's how the way we do it. We don't want to waste your time or my time, and then we get in the offer.
Interesting. And now I have to ask because people always like to know the number side of things. How many deals a month does this generate for you?
Virtual or in person?
All of them excluding JV, because we haven't talked about the JV yet. Your direct to seller, your LLC, your S corp under contract with the actual seller. How many deals a month does that generate? If I can ask that.
Yeah. So in person and virtual, we try to do at least roughly a deal a day. That is my goal, a deal a day. And so that's probably 4 leads per each, so 8. Yeah. A deal a day is roughly what we like to do. That's our main goal.
So you guys
a deal a day virtual, a deal a day in person.
You guys are sitting somewhere. So are you saying that both businesses cumulatively will generate a deal a day, or each one individually is generating a deal a day? Upwards to 60 deals per month.
Yes. Well, that's 720. Yeah, 720 a year.
Wow. And what is your average assignment fee on these? Because they're much higher, guys. Let me just make
in person.
are way, way higher than our assignment fees because he's going off market. There were much thinner margins on market. Sometimes they exist. I mean, you saw the 51K deal we did in September, but for the most part, our average assignment fee is anywhere from $7,000 to $15,000. It's just that with our strategies, you could just make a couple phone calls and get that under contract. It's not as elaborate. So I'm guessing that you're generating much, much, much larger checks, like the type of checks we see Jerry Norton getting.
Yeah, love that guy.
You had a
In
few
person, we've collaborated. We've collaborated on a video before. But basically, in person, we're roughly looking around 30. If it's a probate, it's 50. 30 to 50 on a wholesale. We like wholetailing in person. I don't want to get in the whole wholesale rabbit hole right now. But that's just basically we just buy the deal, put 2K, throw it on the market. It's just I call it a smart novation. People do novations dumb. That's a smart novation. And then virtually you're 15, 20K. Like it's not that crazy. But the lead cost is way lower for virtual.
Interesting. And all of these are off market, or do you ever find any that are on market?
So I can get in the whole on market thing. On market is its own little can of worms. But it's 99%, no, 98% off market. And I'll do some on market on the on the JV side. I'm not an on market guy, man. It's just not my thing. And I get very worried about on market because I see this industry growing, as you know. And as someone like you that teaches, you get 1 million views on a video, right? If I have 5,000 people wholesaling in Miami and they only do the on market, you're starting to see agents get really mad about no creative, right? Let's talk about wholesaling specifically. That gets hard, man. The on-market wholesaling game is not for the faint of heart. And when more wholesalers get in the game, it gets harder. When more wholesalers get in the off-market, anyone can profit off of it. So that's the way I kind of look at it.
Interesting. We do a combination of on-market and off-market. Guys, I'm always telling you to film. I'm always recommending that you film. It's completely changed my wholesale business. You see sellers on a regular basis every single week in my TikTok live stream, and they'll comment, "Hey, I want to sell my house." Those are some of the easiest leads to close ever. Those are some of the easiest inbound. I want to sell my house. 30 seconds after they send that, you're on the phone with them, you close them, you're able to get a deal $100,000 under market value, and you're getting yourself a $30, $40, $50,000 check, which seems to be commonplace for Zach here. Now, Zach, to what extent is your father part of this business, or have you guys sort of separated ways?
No, we run the business together. So I kind of have 3 hats of what I do. So I run basically the virtual and the in-person operations. Rick does more in-person because we deal with a lot of stupid stuff. And then Rick will pretty much handle the hard properties on the JV side. So any probate, any stupid, crazy creative finance deal, JV-wise that we buy. So I do the wholesales. Rick handles the ones that we kind of buy. And then we both do the education part, which is its own thing. And then I run the software company on top of that too, which is, it's a lot, but that's where kind of my days split into 3.
We gotta get into the software company in a bit, but we have to ask about the JV business first. We got to know about that because, guys, that's my business. We have 11,000 students. We have a software company that they use, and that gives them mass offers. They go out and you guys make offers on market, and effectively, I've got 11,000 acquisitions managers who I joint venture with. Through a common platform. Now, he also has a joint venture business. This is my number one source of deals. This seems to be your number one source of deals as well?
Yeah, volume-wise, yes. And probably profit-wise by next year, by far.
Wow.
It's not even a question.
When did that start? So you were doing it on your own for a while. Did that kind of start when social media started and people start reaching out to you saying, "Hey, how do I do deals?"
Oh, yeah, dude. My favorite story is this kid out in Arizona said, "Hey, I got a deal in your local market." I'm like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, but I want to make my money on it, but like you get whatever on the top of 250 grand. So you sell it for 280, I don't care. You make her 30 grand, I don't care." I said, "Okay." And so I sold the thing for like 280. I made 30 grand. I thought, I'm killing this kid. This kid locked it up for 180. He made 70 grand. I'm like, virtually? So it was $100,000 assignment fee. I made 30. He made like 60 or 70. Now he made 70. And I'm like, this dude didn't even live here. And he got this, what? And I was like, whoa. And I started telling people on YouTube, like, hey, send me deals. And this is my local market. He just copied me. And I'm like, whoa, I think there's some money in this. And after that, I started learning how to like go anywhere and doing deals. And then I got really good at dispo, which dispositions is kind of easy. Like, I mean, it's if you got a good deal, you can sell the deal pretty much to anyone. And so the JV thing now is mostly anybody just following me on any social media. They know to JV with me, or they send me a deal, they'll email me a deal, and then I got people, Discord, whatever, just send me wholesaling deals. But I don't cherry pick. But if I'm not making 20, I'm not going to do the deal because I got to make it. That's 10 on my end, and then from there we're trying to scale it up like crazy. My goal is to do at least 1,000 this year, and hopefully double it next year because our dispo is getting a little better at it. And then by the time, this is my goal, probably yours too. This might be my ego, but I want to be the biggest wholesaler in wholesaling by the time I'm 40, so 15 years from now, by just deal volume, right? Like that's kind of the big goal. So 10,000 deals, that's my vision. That's where I want to be at.
Who is the biggest wholesaler right now? The name that comes to mind for me, I think Brent Daniels, Jamil Damji, but I don't think that's the truth. Who do you think the biggest wholesaler is? I haven't looked into it extensively.
It's it's an SEO guy in Arizona. That's all I can. He doesn't want to be. SEO guy in Arizona. That's all I can say. You've never heard of him, and he will never be on video.
Interesting.
If you search like "sell my house Arizona," it's going to be a guy that owns company. You've never heard of him, but he's the number one SEO guy in Arizona. You know what I mean? Like the biggest wholesaler you don't know about. They're not on social media. So like, just think about it's guys that own SEO are usually the biggest guys right now. Like, look up "sell my house Dallas, Texas." There's going to be one guy who owns the SEO on that. He's not an influencer, and every single SEO search goes to that man. That's another secret too. Like if you want to watch somebody that like does a lot of deals, but they're hidden, what I do is because I'm a jerk. I look up their company, and then I look at them actually like flipping houses, and I figure out what areas work well. So if I'm going to go wholesale in what's good market, like Fresno, California, I find who's the number one SEO guy in Fresno. I find his company. I find the guy's name. And then he usually signs the deeds to the houses he buys or flips. And then from there, I'm like, okay, this is where in Fresno all the deals are happening. And then boom, I go in there and do well.
So guys, SEO. I see a lot of comments about SEO. SEO is ranking on Google and various other platforms. It's essentially, well, I may misspeak here, but it's like PPC. You know, you look something up on Google, and it's, you know, you ever see the sponsored thing right there, guys? You ever see it sponsored? Well, yeah, people can pay, and if they have certain keywords, and if they have a certain history, and there's so much goes into it. It's really a science, guys, but you can master it. It is a little bit saturated, but you can definitely master it. And essentially, if you put an ad on Google, and as Zach said, you know, if you search "sell my house quickly," somebody is going to click on that. They are immediately going to reach out to you. And the key is to get in contact with them as quickly as you possibly can. Zach, I would say that the biggest wholesalers in the United States that you know of, that I don't know of, must be making upwards of 5 million a month. Would you say I'm north or south of that number? You think it's more or
Yeah,
less
but it's a 40% profit margin, which still is amazing. But I think about 5.
because
Think
they're
of how
ad
many
spending.
leads Sell My House Arizona on the top gets, and they spend no money on ads. Like, what was that, like 15, 20 leads a day? Like, you can look at Google keywords, and you can see how many searches are being done on there. And you can just do the math yourself on there. Like, how many guys are getting stupid leads, man? It's crazy.
Somebody says, "Did you say SEO or it's SEO? SEO,
Yeah,
SEO,
search engine optimization. I don't do SEO, by the way, but it's like working out, man, right? Like there comes to a point where you get so big, it's like, well, you got to go to the dark side. And I'm not willing to go have a huge team, not willing to spend 100 grand a month on like just people and then go crazier on there, right? And so those guys decide to go on the dark side, get the massive team, and just go all in. I never had that goal. Oh, I want to make 5 mil a month. That's stupid, dude. It's crazy, man.
I've heard you mention working out a number of times now. Or do you have an athletic background in college, or do you lift? What's your
I
how
just
do you
work
burn your
out, man. Oh yeah,
what
dude. When you sit down all day and just look at numbers, and you sit down in an air conditioned room, no sun, like you go crazy, right? So you gotta go for like an hour, and that's what I do. I used to say like before. I used to talk with this guy Paul McComas, right? I used to always
uh,
say that like I was like I have the best bench out of anyone on YouTube, and then Paul sent me a video. He was benching 370. And I'm like, crap. And then he passed away, and I think I was there, and then everyone just sends me stuff. But I've always made it a fun thing because Rick used to always bench more than me, and now we're kind of even now. But you got to work out an hour a day, or your energy just slumps, man.
guys, this business is brutal. It's really brutal. Like I definitely want to touch on the mental challenges associated with wholesaling. I want to talk about what it feels like to do 50,000 in a month, in your first couple of months, and then not have a
Mm.
deal for perhaps 6 months. Maybe the market changes. Maybe you're in 2021 and interest rates go from 2.5 to 8%, and your strategy stops working. I want to talk about the mental challenges behind that at some point here. Because guys, it is not for the faint of heart. Zach's camera has froze. Zach, are you still with us?
Yeah, you can't see me.
It froze. You may want to
Oh, it should
restart
be
it. Be
better.
good again. It's now doing the loading thing, but I'm sure it'll come back in just a
Oh
second.
Lord,
But honestly, people
let's
are saying
see.
sounds like it's me. Sounds like it's me, guys. Disregard. I mess things up for everybody. Um, and now I'm looking at some dots moving on a screen, but I messed that up, huh? Anyways, guys, wholesaling is there are easy aspects of it, and then there were massive mental challenges associated with it. Zach, have there ever been times where you're just at a loss, like why can't I sell this deal? Why can't I get properties under contract? What's been the biggest mental hurdle that you've encountered in this business?
Well, my job is to kind of break that mental hurdle for most people because I think you have enough followers where you know this now. Dude, I'm getting guys like last week, I do my Discord calls. This one guy, I kid you not, if there's some people in my Discord that are in here so they can confirm this. There is a person in penitentiary, in prison, who in some prisons they give you access to a phone. They're doing 2 to 3 deals a month in prison. Like, really think about that for a second. He had his recording on. He's actually a guy in my Discord. He does deals in prison, cold calling Google Voice. And then I got another guy in Nigeria making 20 grand a month. Then I got a guy in South Africa making 30 grand a month. I got this other dude who's making 50 grand a month in Trinidad and Tobago. And then I started telling myself, like, maybe my problems aren't too bad. And yeah, there's mental challenges to it, but it's all about perspective. And if you ever go to a country where the average income is less than $10,000 a year, you start changing the way you think of things. Because human beings are really weird. You drive 70 miles an hour and then you go to 60, you feel like you're slow, but really you're going 70 miles an hour. And so I always tell everyone just improve every single day. But yeah, dude, there's a lot of mental issues, mental problems with me. I always tell people the Conor McGregor quote, but like I lost my mind my first 2 years wholesaling. Like that's all I did. And I did nothing else. And that was probably not good for me. But it springboarded me to where I'm at now, where it's not bad at all. So life's all about balance. But I decided that I wanted to guarantee my success. And so that's what you got to do.
It was interesting. I recently experienced this. This must have happened years for you. In my first 2 years of wholesaling, I had this like dopamine driven excitement for the business. Like I would hear a podcast, I'd hear something similar to what we're doing right now, and I would just get giddy. I'm just like, oh my God, this is just like the best thing ever. I don't really understand how all of it works. There's so many different moving pieces, so many different ways to do deals. And honestly, the complexity of it all, or what seemed to be complexity, it was just immensely exciting to try to learn everything. And as of recently, I'm still excited about it, but I find myself in social situations not really talking about it so much. I'm curious because everybody imagines, like, oh, as soon as I have this level of income, I'm going to be set, man. I'm going to be there. As soon as I reach this point, I'll be good. I don't need to make any more. For me, the first thought I had around that was $50 a day. I told myself, as an 18-year-old, if I can just make $50 a day every single day, I'll be set. I'll barely have to work at that point. And then it became $100 a day, and then it became $500 a day, and then $1,000 a day, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. Do you ever find that you have to find pleasure in something else when you realize that the money isn't the end all be all?
But dude, like I think I know you probably make more than probably. I know this is. I'm not trying to insult you. I bet you make more than 50 grand a month net after everything. I know you do, but like just I'm using that as a parameter. That is about, depending on your tax situation, 400 grand net. If you put half of that $200,000 in a compound interest calculator, S&P 500 at 7%, and then you look at how much that's worth by the time you're 60. I mean, that's like what, 5-6 mil. That will give you. I mean, you don't have to work. Like, if I just stopped working right now and I just go off all the rentals I own, like I'm done. Like the mental thing of like, how am I going to make it? It's not there anymore. And for most people, if you invest like half your money, like you're like, I don't have to do this anymore. Like if I decide my heart's not in it, I can just leave and I'm good to go. But I'm obsessed, man. Like it's weird. Like I love wholesaling. That's all I talk about. And the problem is most people, they get into wholesaling so they can make the money, but they don't really have a passion for real estate. And you get to the next point of like owning rentals and doing the other stuff in wholesaling, like you have to have a passion for real estate. And when you really want to build a business and you're not passionate about it, you quit. Dude, have you seen all these wholesalers get out of the business? Like they make money, but they have no passion for it. And then they do their stupid Amazon FBA store, scam people, and they're back in it, right? So, yeah.
I guess we go live 3 to 4 hours a day. I go live 3 to 4 hours a day on here, and I wouldn't be able to do that sustainably if I weren't obsessed with the business as well. But I guess what I'm referring to is everybody has this. Do you remember what it was like when you weren't making money and the way that you visualized you would feel when you were making money? Remember what that
Oh
was
yeah.
like?
Yeah. I was a
And
bag boy at 17, scrubbing toilets. I said, hey, I need to get a deal.
And you think about once you have it, you'll feel a certain way, and you do feel a certain way for a week, maybe 2 weeks, but then it subsides. Do you
Yeah.
find that there's ever struggle in that? Like for me, what I've noticed is, and I think it's disgusting human tendency. You reach an absurd amount of income, like you don't need more money than this, but you're like, I need more, I need more, I need more, and then when you get it, you tell yourself in the beginning, oh, when I get there, I'm just going to be so happy. And then you get there and it's like, no, I need more. I need more. And it just keeps leveling up and leveling up and leveling up. Do you experience that? And if so, I mean, how do you manage those emotions? That's a question for me
Oh,
right now. That's something I'm
dude,
struggling.
why do I do what I do? Like, dude, I say this in the nicest way possible. If I quit everything, I can still clear 7 figures from just my investments, right? Like right now. Like just stopping everything and probably for the rest of my life, it'll probably compound like 10% a year, right? If I just say, well, quit the game, S&P 500, stop it, right? The main reason why I do what I do now is just kind of more for impact. Like to this day, and this isn't a shot at you or shot to anyone, right? Because you have your YouTube channel, you're growing it, that's great. If I wanted to learn wholesaling real estate like completely for free, there's only like 3 or 4 people that will teach you, and most of them I don't think are good. And this business taught you having no money to make money, right? This business taught me to have no money to make money. And the way I look at it is like, dude, I get these guys from Nigeria, Jamaica, like these really poor countries, and they're so smart, but they literally have they're just in a bad situation, right? If you live in Kingston, Jamaica right now, like it's really hard to make 100 grand. But that could feed your mom, your family, and like feed them and house them 100 grand for like a family of like 12, right? Who's going to teach that kid how to make 100 grand in real estate? Like really, no mentorship, no paywall. Like, hey, this, and that. Like, and so I look at there's not a lot, and so I need to keep doing this for these type of people. And I'm at a point now where I just get DMs every single day, like of people like that, international. And dude, like I hate to say, like if you live in Wyoming, you can make 100 grand just being a banker, being a manager, right? I do it kind of for the people that don't have those, like in a really bad situation right now. And so I try to bring that American dream internationally. So that's kind of what pushes me right now.
Interesting. Interesting. So we've been talking about some technical, some emotional stuff. We gotta get back to some exciting things to boost the viewers on TikTok here. I'm suffering on TikTok. What's been your biggest deal? What's the biggest deal you've done?
So biggest deal is an assignment fee is $120,000. And that was oh my God, I'm old. 4 years ago. 4 years ago, $120,000 probate deal. Locked it up for 240, sold it for 360.
What's the story behind it? You remember the story?
Probate. So I'm in Florida, and probate is called Florida is called God's waiting room because of all the old people. And there's so many old people, and they all come from up north, and they just go in their little retirement community. And this biggest secret about Florida is there's no emotional attachment. That is the biggest thing about Florida that makes the most money. So old guy in New York retires, teacher, buys a $400,000 house in Florida. He unfortunately passes away. And I call up the heir who lives in New York City. And he's never been to the house. He hasn't seen his dad in like a year or two. And hey, can I just give you an offer? Like, you don't even have to drive down. I'll just give you, we can wire you basically from the title company, and we just take care of it. And like, oh, but a couple things there. I'm like, well, I can just ship it to you. Are you okay? Or I can give it to the neighbors or whatever. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And these people don't want to go all the way down to Florida because then those people are young. They don't want to be in Florida. And so I do a lot of deals doing probates because there's so many old people and they all own the house. And the heirs don't really live locally, or some of them do, but there's no emotional attachment to that house. And the biggest problem with probate is if you're talking to somebody and they grew up in that house and it's their mom's house that died, they have an emotional attachment. They don't want to sell. They don't want to let go. And so probates in Florida right now are my biggest deals by far. And
Wow.
no software can pull that list. So that's why they work so well. Because the average Joe Schmo doesn't know how to pull them. And they can't deal with any of the title issues with them that I do. So, yeah.
Do you remember exactly what happened in your $120,000 deal? Do you remember how you found the seller? You know, what type of, it was a probate lead, but how did you find them?
So it was a probate letter, and we send letters out to probates. There's like 300, 400 probate letters we'll send out every single month. And so if somebody files a probate, boom, send them a letter saying, hey, sorry for your loss. In the event you're looking to sell, we like to buy it. We buy between, 20, 30 properties every single month. And that's kind of the letter. And so we showed that we have authority and we're sorry for your loss, but hey, if you are our secret line is in the event you're looking to sell. I'm not asking, hey, do you want to sell in the event? Because it's an emotional decision. We want to buy it for cash, easy, quick, boom. And that's what we do. And those things sell crazy because old people, the house is outdated, but they keep it really nice and clean. And so they're really easy to sell. And so that was a lady, her and her husband died, and she wanted to move into her daughter's house, other side of the state. And there was a little bit of issues on the property, need a new roof, all these things. And so what I do is I do something called go for no. And so I make all my acquisitions, do it, and everyone that learns from me, I say, hey, make an offer, but it has to be a no. Go for the no. If you don't get a no on your initial offer, you're offering too high. And I'm like, okay, well, let's do 240. And she said, yeah. I'm like, perfect. Sign it. Title. Cleared pretty easy. So, yeah, 120.
That's ridiculous. Guys.
Oh, yeah, it was crazy.
That's like upper middle class income, right? I don't know what you consider upper middle class income on a single deal. That's ridiculous. I think a lot of people are wondering how they can get involved with this method because it's very different. It's very different from what we do.
Oh, yeah.
We do something entirely separate here. We're not even doing real estate half the time. I sell trusts. I'd say about half the deals that we do aren't even real estate transactions processed by a title company because we do something so
trust, or was that like a subject to and a land trust?
Well, we can jump into it briefly. I find low equity sellers, and they've been pitched subject to on market before. And I say, I recognize the inherent issues with subject to. I never want to expose your client to that risk. And we say, instead of purchasing the property subject to, why don't you put the house into a trust and we'll buy the trust for more than you would ever make on your sale. And the amount that they would have made on their sale is negative $10,000, and the amount that we can offer them is 5, 10. The one that Garrett just came on was $11,000, and then we're able to wholesale that usually for anywhere between $10,000 and $50,000 high end. So it's based on the premise of, let me offer you more than you ever expected to make, and let me do it in a way that's not going to trigger the due on sale clause. And I say it's not a real estate deal because it's technically a personal property transfer. We never sell the house. We purchase 90% of the trust or wholesale 90% of the trust, and the seller is going to hold 10% of the trust but have no monetary ties to it. It gets complicated.
Oh, are you doing an assignment of like beneficiary? What is it called? The assignment of beneficial rights or whatever on a land trust? That's how you do it.
With a revocable trust, we have a structure where the seller
Land or revocable?
Revocable. With a revocable trust, the seller is going to hold 10% interest in the trust, but it's not going to have any decision-making abilities over the trust or the property. They're not going to receive profit on it. But we keep them on the trust because if the bank sees that title has been separated from the mortgage, it opens us up to the due on sale clause. Now, it's very unlikely the due on sale clause is going to happen, but realtors don't know that. So we explain this to realtors. We're like, look, first of all, your seller was never removed from the title of the property. They're still a part owner. They just don't have any liability within it. And then we can wholesale those positions as well. So sometimes I'll be able to buy one for $0 down, keep it myself, add it to my portfolio, and then other times we'll wholesale it off. But a large majority of the people in here are calling people on Zillow and saying, I would never want to expose you to the risk of subject to. I have something totally different. And then a lot of agents, not all agents, but a lot of agents are curious about how we do that. And we just say, well, generally speaking, I think it's a good idea to put your property in a trust anyways. What if I just purchase the trust off of you? The trust is going to own the property. The mortgage stays in your name. And we still have you on as a part owner of the property, but it's going to come off your debt to income ratio. It's going to look like you transferred your property to next of kin.
Yeah, but why do they own 10%? Because if they transfer it to a trust, technically, if they created the trust, right, you can just go, if a banker calls you, tries to call the note due, you just say, well, no, it's for asset protection. Then, you know this, you can't do a due on sale clause if it's in the trust, though. The only way they're going to find out is if the beneficiary on the insurance changes. That's usually what triggers them. I've had 2 due on sales, and I fight. I'm like, no, it's for asset protection. They're like, oh, okay. So do you?
The
So you
reason that
sell them now, you don't keep them.
Well, I keep them and I sell them. The reason that we keep them on as 10% interest is to bulletproof protect against the due on sale clause, because it will still happen if you're within a trust, and it could be an issue if you're building a portfolio on that. So I'm thinking long term. I'm thinking like, if I've wholesaled 1,000 of these deals and I own 1,000 of these deals, banks find out that they have their money lended out for too long. If their KPIs are like, wait a second, on average, people hold these houses for 7 to 10 years, and they've been holding them for 20 years. If they find out that people are holding these low interest rates, 2.5%, 2.6% rates for too long, I worry about mass due on sale clause. So the reason that we have them as a 10% owner of it is because title has never been separated from the mortgage. The person who is on the title of the property is also on the mortgage, but we can structure it in such a way that they have no interest in it whatsoever. They take no profit from it. And honestly, it really serves as an anchor point for agents. One of the biggest reasons that we do it is because it makes realtors comfortable on the phone, because realtors are always going to press really, really hard on the due on sale clause. I mean, if you call enough times, you'll find somebody who doesn't know about it, but it's a simple Google search. And you and I both know that it is unlikely and it is reversible, especially
Give them the Garn. Just tell them Garn, and they're like, oh, what's that? They Google it, they go, okay.
Yeah, the Garn St. Germain Act. But that's the reason that we do it. So we want to make
Okay.
sure that we're 100% above water, and then on top of that, it allows the seller to reclaim the property if we miss payments super easily. They don't have to foreclose on us, especially in a state like Florida where a deed of trust can't be used. So we do a lot of deals in Florida, and of course they don't want to do a deed of trust to immediately grant somebody back the property if we have missed payments for a period of 2 months. However, if we structure it in such a way where they already own 10% of it within the operating agreement of the trust, full ownership of the trust can revert back to them separate of the law that prevents them from reclaiming their property without having to foreclose on it, as you know, in Florida.
Like that. What if I'm trying to remember
It's
the
the
Garn. It's something. Isn't there something in there about like liens, like a second mortgage hold? I gotta read it again. So like, so what people used to do is they used to like have them sign the deed, put it in a safe, and then the guy would get a judgment and then screw the whole deal up. So if that guy gets a judgment and he has 10%, would you fight that, or like how would you fight that if the guy gets like a? The worst thing in Florida is a child support lien because those things are bulletproof and they're like for $250,000.
Well, if you have, like, let's say you don't pay your property taxes on time for a subject to deal, or let's say you don't pay your LLC
Yeah.
taxes. In theory, they can go after the property, but when it's within the trust, we've completely removed that possibility. So part of the trust is protection, but I'd say half of it is just the pitch. We don't need to do it that way.
Oh, it's about presenting, huh?
Yeah, I own subject to deals myself, and I've never run
Yeah.
into an issue with the due on sale clause, and we know how to fight it if we do. It's because we go on market. I mean, sub two off market, they've never heard of it. We're not gonna, but with the sub two community and Pace Morby, they have been hit with this heavy. So I'm pitching something that they've never heard of before, and it has a couple other small benefits to it. For example, fixed closing costs. I bought this $1 million house, and we had
Mhm.
4K in closing costs. We had a 2 week close, 4K in closing costs, and it's the same every single time. So half of it is about the pitch, and then half of it's about legal precedent. So, my mentor, John Chin, was pressed on this by a judge. He went to court on it. And he was able to obtain legal precedent when they said, well, wait a second, you violated the due on sale clause. No, I haven't. I never sold the property. I did a personal property transfer, and the seller is still on the title of the property. The seller still owns it. It's like they added a
I
kid to
like
the
it.
mortgage.
It's still on there. That's smart.
He's
See,
still
we do it just completely. Like we just assign the beneficiary, and then they fight us. I just say it's for asset protection, and then usually a banker they get a little worried, and then I'm like, okay, boom. They're scared of a countersuit. Honestly, only 2 times I've gotten hit on that, but I still did the paperwork right. But it's very interesting to have them still on it. I like that. That's pretty cool.
yeah,
Is that that,
it's
that John guy? Is he the one that came up that 10% thing?
John Chin. He learned it from a guy named John Sheldon who taught it to John Chin, and it's a
Interesting.
deal that title companies don't know how to close. So you have to
Do
have
you
an
have the
attorney.
case law you can send me? I want to see that
I,
lawsuit.
I've been asking him about it. I need him to get it sent over to me. For some reason he's reluctant to do so, but it's what he's
I'll
been
look it up.
telling me for the past year and a half or so. But he said he went to court over it and was able to come out on top. So I have to ask him for it. I've also been very, very curious about that. But yeah, part
Well,
of it's
the
about
judge will say what percentage it should be. That's why I'm curious.
and I wonder why it's not 1%. It has to be 10%. But this is something I learned about a year and a half ago. And the main way that I've been using it is, I call an agent and, we want to pitch subject to, and they say, is this a subject to call? Just first thing that they say off the bat, if you call in a major US city, oh, I'd never exposed your client to the risk of subject to. That sounds like a terrible idea. And then their guard is
Dude,
completely
I like
reset.
that.
Then we'll open it up into, yeah, I think it's a good idea for your client to put the property into a trust regardless. If they ever plan to transfer that to next of kin, they're going to pay taxes from the beginning of time since you've owned this property. That's going to be their capital gains. But if it's within a trust, that's not going to be the case. So first of all, even if we don't do a deal, put your property into a trust. And they're like, oh, okay, oh, you're right, okay, yes, sure. But what if I bought that trust? What if you put it into a trust and I purchase the trust off of your client? Be the same thing as we always say, it's like the kid in high school. The kid in high school who has the really, really expensive property. You got the parent on the actual mortgage. They pay the mortgage, but the kid is on title. It's like transferring your house to next of kin. And we're able to explain it in such a way we're like, oh, I can actually see a real life situation where I would do this type of deal if I ever transferred my trust to next of kin later down the road.
Yeah, I like it, man. I'm curious about that 10%, but like, do that. I say the same thing. You know, you talk to a guy on a pre-foreclosure. Are you a wholesaler? No, I buy properties. I rent properties out, and sometimes I'll wholesale it. And then you take their guard off doing that. So that's a great approach, man. I like it because I just do the trust thing, and honestly, I'll look into that. It's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to
I'll look
connect you
into
with
it.
my setup guy. I've got a guy who sets it up for us. These are the easiest closings. These are the
Oh yeah,
easiest closings ever. So much easier than going through a title company. We're not even doing a real estate transaction anymore. It's a personal property transfer. But much of what we teach here is finding individuals who can't sell their houses for various reasons. I mean, for multifamily, I'll find a $300,000 multifamily property and I'll make them an offer at list. I'll say, "Oh, you're looking for $300,000? Oh, perfect. Let's do $300,000." And they say, "Great, send me the contract." And I say, "Just really quickly, what does this bring in per month?" And they say, "Oh, $300,000 house. This rents out for $2,500." They've got older rent charge on it. And I was like, "Oh, okay." Now it looks like if I throw this into a mortgage calculator, my payment is $2,500 on this 300,000 at a 6% interest rate. Do you have a lender that could give me like a 2 or 3% rate?" And they say no. And I'm like, "Oh, so what's the solution? I just offered you your asking price, but it looks like I'm just way negative on my cash flow." And they're thinking, "Oh shit, that's why people have been lowballing us." And I say, "So essentially, I'd have to lowball you to get this to cash flow." And I get them to say yes to that. I get them to say, "You'd have to
right.
lowball me to get this to cash flow." And then from there, I'm going to say, "Well, what if I just offer you 50K over list on a set of payments?" I'd hate to do that. I'd hate to do seller finance on your property, but what's the solution? Unless you got that lender that can give me a 2% rate. And they say, "Oh, oh." And then the alternative scenario is we find somebody who's going to lose money on the sale of their house. We call this our Trojan horse pitch, our Trojan horse pitch. I go in with a cash offer every single time. I start in cash. You find the seller who has their house listed for 300, they owe 280,000, and I say, let's do 290. I see you've been on market for 90 days. I'll offer 10K below list. Dream offer. Here's my proof of funds. I'll make my terms amazing. 2-day inspection period, non-refundable EMD of $10,000. Like just the best terms that they could possibly have. Title company
Yeah.
of their choice. And they say, "Perfect, let's do it." And I say, "Now wait a second. Isn't your client going to have to bring money to the closing table to buy this? Because if I scroll down on Zillow or to sell this, I scroll down on Zillow, I see they
Yeah.
bought it for damn near this price." And they say, "Yeah, but that is a harsh reality that they're willing to accept." I was like, "Okay, cool. Let's present it anyways. If they're fine losing 10,000, let's do it. But I'll let you know, I could also just give you 20,000 to take over your mortgage," which is where they say, "Is this subject to?" And I say, "I'd never want to expose your client to the risk of subject to." And so we essentially put them in a position where they come to their own conclusion. I need this. I never tell somebody you need
Yeah.
this. I get them to think I need this because of the way that you've just phrased it, which I thought was very, very similar to the emotional approach that you have to sellers.
I like it, man. The other thing I like to do too, I don't know if you do this, is if you ever look at the days on market, usually what, like 90 days is the average listing agreement, somewhere 180. I just like to sniper it like day 86, 85. Dude, then you got the realtor stressing. Oh, oh. Then they're freaking out. That and then the other thing I like doing is taking over dead people's mortgages. That one's fun.
Tell
That
me
one's
about that.
good.
Tell me about
Dude,
that.
like what? So one of the biggest risks for me taking over someone's house subject to, right, is if I do a traditional subject to is due on sale clause, which kind of sucks. But you can kind of keeping the guy's name if he's dead, right? He's not going to get a lien on his house. He's not going to get a lien. He's not going to do something stupid. You kind of keep it dead. You can record the mortgage with the heir, and basically they don't have to worry about probate and kind of they're dead, and so I don't know if I should say this, but how homestead law works is you don't have to transfer it and the taxes are stupid low. And so you kind of take advantage of that homestead situation where, okay, so how Florida works is you are capped at how much your property's assessed value is if you homestead it. So we have $600,000 houses that are appraised for 150 grand because an old guy bought in 1984 and it only go up 2%. And with inflation, especially in Florida, right? It's crazy. So you can keep it where it cash flows so stupid well, and you can just cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. And then if they want to sell, then you can do it. And then unfortunately, then it gets assessed at the sale price. So you can even get bonus cash flow, because if you do a subject to and it changes deeds, depends if it was a sale or not, the homestead's going to go up. And so you can kind of keep taxes really low, which just gives you an extra bonus if you're owning it yourself or you're selling it to somebody, because it keeps the homestead exemption. That's Florida. Texas is like that on there too. But I usually keep those because the cash on cash is like 100%. It's just money, man. There's not a better investment than that, man. Like you give the guy 10 grand and then you just make 10,000 a year net and then it appreciates. It's insane.
Now, if it's all right, I was hoping to pivot real quick here. I don't know what your time. Actually, you have to leave at 5. But I was hoping to briefly pivot before we let you go on here, or perhaps bring a couple people up for questions. I wanted to see what a deal is to you. Although I know you don't like to go on market, I wanted to see if we could find a property and you say, this is where I need this house. Obviously, you have a different way of getting it under contract, but this is where I need this house. In terms of cash deal, I was hoping to go to your local market, find a property on Zillow, and then you say, this is where I need this house. This is how I know that I need this house here. Of course, you have your, do you say LAO instead of MAO?
LAO, least allowable offer.
LAO. I wanted to figure out how you get there, because I'm going to be real, man. 80% of our deals are creative finance. 80% of them. Everything I own in my portfolio is creative finance, and I want to change that because I see people doing cash deals, and I do cash deals, sure. But, I do 5 to 10 cash deals per month. I want to do 50 cash deals per month. And I'm super, super curious what your process looks like. Apart from your acquisitions, obviously we want to know about the acquisitions, but we're going on market. So I was wondering if it was okay, if you found a property in your market and you said, well, hey, this is how I would underwrite it on Zillow.
Sure. Let me go grab an address real quick. On market?
Real quick?
On market?
Oh, I thought you said you were going to get a dress real quick. I was just curious what color it was.
I'm going to find a house now because I'm kind of getting a little more narrow with it. Is 100%. And so I don't know what your subject to leeway is, but I don't like to put anything above 40, 50K on them. I like to be at like 10, 15, 20, and the ARV is really high, like 10% of the value of the home at most. And then we'll just cash flow those, own them ourselves. And then from there, my favorite strategy, which I get a lot of pushback from this, for lease options. By far the best, and this isn't even holding, but like lease options, man. By far. Like you can make 60, 70, 80 grand on a lease option in 5 years in the right market. But like and nobody talks about it. It used to be an old school strategy. Not one person really talks about it anymore. There used to be one guy on the internet talks about lease options and then he went into land. And right now, no one talks about them. And so when I pitch them, like no one really hears about it. And so that, for anyone in your audience, like you talk about making 70 grand on a deal, like do a lease option. And that's just basically, I call it subject to with high equity.
Interesting.
Simple.
That's interesting.
You know lease option, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
No. Do I wholesale any? No. I understand the concept. And I honestly, I should hold my tongue. We should speak about it because I understand where it is. I think it's an awesome strategy, but you're right. I do think of it as the old school strategy. I think of it as the infomercial strategy, and I know so little about it, so I don't want to speak on something that I don't know very much about. I have so much to learn on that front. I think of myself as master of one or master of none, and there's very few things that I'm good at, and a lot of things that I'm really, really, really bad at. So I would put that into the box of what I don't know, what I'm bad at, what I should ask you about. But
that's why I'm asking you for stuff. You're opening my mind on some things too, so that's what you got to do.
Can I ask how many doors you own? I'm curious how many doors you own.
A good amount. That's what I'm going to say. Zach Ginn makes $40,000 a year IRS. By the way, salary from my company. That's how much I make.
So what he means, guys, is that he pays himself. That's how much he pays his holding company. So I have a bank account.
That's how much I make.
With my holding company, and my holding company has $5,000 in it right now. And we have to, when you get to this stage in your company, you have to pay yourself as an employee of the firm. So that's what he means. I mean, but
correct. I
think he has to tread lightly. And some of you may get that, some of you may not get that.
I saw you made a TikTok with Chris. Chris owns this. I'm like, okay. That thing freaks me out, man. Everything I own, like if it's a property, it's a trust. And then the scary part is who signs for the trust, because you got to look who records the deed. If you're smart, you have a lawyer sign for it because he's a trustee. Then you're hidden. Because my goal, if I want to go ghost one day, I go ghost. You don't know what real estate I own. You don't own this. And as you'll find out, the more followers you have, if you're in where you live's public, people will come to your house. I figured this out pretty fast. People will just knock on your door. And some pretty angry people. Like I see JD in here in the shout out to JD. He says some pretty choice words for me back in the day. I have an eidetic memory. I remember JD. But basically, you get some angry people coming to your house once you have some followers. So tread lightly. What I'll tell you is, at minimum, what me and Rick own, it's going to be at least 1 to 2 a month, like cash in Florida. That's what I like. That's my thing. Like right now, that's roughly where I'm at. So do the math.
Interesting. Guys, I'll be transparent. I'm not as intelligent as Zach. I out my
once 4 angry people come to your house, you start saying, okay, maybe I should start hiding things. But dude, when you're going to start acquiring more real estate, and you just don't want anyone to really know. And the one thing I have found, and this is creepy, but like people start going after you because when you own real estate, like oh wow, I see this guy owns like 15 houses. Well, let me try to see what I can do. And what I could tell you is, because I learned, I'm trying to figure out if these guys are legit or not. Like when someone goes to my podcast, I'm like, hey, you said you're making $100,000 a month. Show me like $100,000. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, dang, I don't see your name on the deed. He's like, yeah, I have a lawyer. He's a trustee for mine. He doesn't own it, but he's a trustee. And so when you look at the deed, it's pretty dang cool. One secret too, if you're wholesaling, if you find somebody that wholesales a property, find out the buyer, look up who signs the deed on public record, and you'll find all of the properties they've bought in, and boom, you go from there. But yeah, man, lawyer as a trustee, house is in a trust. Pretty clean.
You want another step to your corporate veil, and I'll tell you why I out my addresses on a everybody knows that we're all.
I'd love to know, man. Is that gives me anxiety.
I'll tell you why, but I'll also tell you another thing that I use for my asset protection here. Grandin Taylor Properties, which is Grandin Taylor LLC, known as Grandin Taylor LLC, is my original company. Grandin Taylor LLC is owned by 2 companies. It's owned by a holding company. Each of those 2 companies are S corporations, and those S corps have controlling interest in trusts. So LLC, S corporations, or actually the LLC is now going to be an S corporation as well, but the LLC has 2 companies that own that company, holding companies, and then those 2 companies have 50% control. Chris's holding company and my company have 50% control in the trust. So it's a trust owned by 2 companies, owned by a company. And our corporate veil is quite thick at this point. But the reason that I out my addresses is because, 1, I'm confident in my corporate veil, but 2, I agree with you. And the third reason is I'm not as solidified as you. Zach is unfuckwittable. You don't realize like you're the young godfather of this business. You were the first young guy to start this. You know, you got Jerry Norton, you got Pace. You can't relate to those guys.
No, Jerry.
You just. I know Jerry as well. He's an amazing guy. He's very kind, but it's hard to relate to those people. Zach, when people think about the young person who spread wholesaling and who is relatable, it's you, man. It is you. You've been in this space a lot longer than I have been in this space, which is why I'm reluctant to speak on some things, just because I'm ignorant to them. But my business is doubted on a daily basis. You don't do deals. This is fake. I mean, how many times? Discord, how many times a day do we have somebody come in here and say that this is entirely a scam, like scam alert?
Oh yeah.
Every day. And I didn't have facial hair until 3 months ago. I thought I'd grow facial hair to make myself look a little bit more credible, a little bit older, because I'm lacking that long-term credibility. It was just a couple years ago that people were duetting me on TikTok saying this is a scam. So I'm like, I own this house, this house, this house, this house, this house, this house, this house. Fuck you. And that's a part of the reason why I do it. But I agree with the risk. I agree.
Richard, no one can argue that you don't work if you just get everyone a screenshot. Hey, Richard, you showed me to get my first deal. You could probably collect 100 of them, put them on your website. Boom. I've taught these people how to do it. Ask them.
You pay them.
I don't even put my own stuff there.
We have 900 5-star reviews on Hold My Hand Wholesale, and I must have paid for them according to my haters. So I use the properties as try me. That's why.
Get a check. And then I tell people, a hater, I'm like, hey, call the title company, ask if that got closed, and ask if that guy learned from me or not. And then you go from there. But another reason I do it the way I'm telling you is, first of all, I own a lot of rentals, and I feel like one day I'm going to be challenged on this. Have you ever looked into how Apple pays taxes?
I have not.
Okay. So Apple is in California, which has 15.6 corporate on top of the 21 we have. So that'd be 36% they'd pay. I'm not 100% correct on this, but I know they pay roughly 10% in taxes, which is like, whoa, how? Well, Apple in California is owned by Apple in Ireland, or the other way around. And Apple in California pays all their profits to the Apple Corporation in Ireland for using the Apple logo. So Apple only pays 10%. And the state of California, these are billions of dollars, they can't do squat about it, because that's how the corporate structure in the IRS is. So if you are in the state of Florida and there is a corporate tax, how do I go to a state that doesn't have a corporate tax? Is there a structure for that where I can save 10%? Sorry, 5-6%? Yeah, there is. So certain way around it. Some people say shell game. I'm not going to call it a shell game, but there's a way where you can get an extra 6% savings and you're good to go. So a lot of people have C corporations in the state of Florida, and they have to pay 6% for wholesaling in Florida, but there's ways you go around it, and you can go even nuts. Half the people go to Puerto Rico just to get that little tax. I think Puerto Rico just had a new one where if you're like under 25, your first 500K is free. I got to look it up. I saw something about that. I just hit the cutoff for it. But
it was my goal to move to Puerto Rico for many years. I realized that that's not what I wanted. But yes, that's a fact.
You just got to, there's certain ways. You just got to get a good tax guy. My way I tell everyone is hire a tax guy that used to work for the IRS. They're very expensive, but they know every game, and just hire them and they'll help you out. People work for the IRS just to say I worked for the IRS.
There's always a way. Jeff Bezos pays $0 in income taxes. As you start to acquire money, you realize that a lot of it's not about making more money. It's about keeping the money that you already have. And there, with the right attorney, with the right tax people, whatever it may be, I speak little of it because Chris runs all the back end stuff. I run marketing. I run the live streams. I do the videos. I acquire the portfolio. Chris runs all that stuff. I know so little about it, but you can. I'm just gonna say, you can. That's all we're gonna say here. But there are ways to keep a lot of the money that you make. There really are.
Yeah, legally. You don't want the government on your butt. But I'm not going to give the government a reason to be on my butt. So I make $40,000 a year.
He's a manager at McDonald's, guys. He really is. Trust me. He just is. Guys, I want to know in the chat. How many people would want to see this in a podcast? If we were to drop a video every 2 weeks, something like that, what do we think? How many people would want to see something like that? Chat, show me whether or not. Oh, okay. I think there might be one or two, Zach. I can count 3. How many can you count?
A lot. I like it. I think the most impressive part is how many people are on this Discord. That's crazy to me.
undercharge, over provide. I sit here for 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and after you leave, I'm gonna continue to sit here. But I'm obsessed with it. I love it, especially the creative financing things. But guys, we just scratched the surface, and honestly, there's other players we can bring on. You know, Zach and I have been talking about potentially reaching out to a number of other people in the space and seeing if we could collaborate with them. I think there's some real content opportunities. I think there's some real wholesale opportunities as well. And I'd love to explore it further and see what we can do.
Yeah, I like it, man.
Guys, I don't want to use up too much more of his time here. I want to select 5 people to bring up and see if we could briefly, just quick, ask him a question. I want to select 5 individuals. Is that okay, though? Is that okay?
Yeah,
we
okay.
have. Okay, cool. Because I think he may have actually stayed longer than he was even committed to, which is huge. Guys, here's how we're gonna do this because I don't think everybody knows how to request to speak. Can we get me put in the chat maybe like 500 times right now? Put me in the chat 500 times, and I'm gonna scroll through it randomly, and we're gonna select somebody. So if you want to come up, put me in the chat. I'm gonna give you about 15 more seconds to put me in the chat. Me. Oh wow. Yes, there a lot of you. There are. Okay. So we're gonna scroll through. I'm gonna scroll randomly. Select our first person. Give it 5 more seconds, guys. I want to see it explode in the chat. Yep, put those names in. Mini me. Yes, we see you. 3, 2, 1. And I'm gonna select somebody. Stop. Oh, St. James. Let's bring him up. Guys, let's try to keep it quick. Let's try to keep it quick here. He has been immensely generous with his time already, and you know we definitely want to give him a major thank you and funnel all of you towards his social media because he deserves that for coming on and speaking to us for so long.
We're good.
Yeah, he doesn't need it. He's already too famous. But we'll do it anyways. St. James, take it away, man.
What's going on, guys? Man, I appreciate you guys' time for real. I'm gonna keep it short. I have an off-market property in Central Valley, California. It's coming off a portfolio. He's owned it since the 50s. He just had heart surgery. I got it from the agent. He contacted me. I built a rapport with the guy, so we're good. I'm going on the contract here. She wants cash. I'd like to give you guys the address so you can take a look at it. I'll put it in the chat right now.
Okay. What's it listed for?
He originally wanted 165. I have it right now at 130.
Okay.
ARV is 225.
Sorry, said again. You cut out. It was 225.
Yeah.
225. So you have it at 130. ARV is 225. What do you think rehab could be?
I'm local to the area, so from the contractors that I know, we could probably do it for about 20 grand to get it up and running.
I don't want to. I speak a little bit on this, but really, I want Zach to speak on this because you probably already have an idea of what I'm going to say. It says it's off market. I want
Pensacola.
Oh, sorry, it's Bakersfield, California.
Bakersfield.
Oh.
Central Valley.
So it's off market, correct?
Yeah, it's off market.
Off market 2.1s, estimate 273. You have it at 130.
Yep.
I mean, that
so
sounds
and it's
like
this it's pretty unique, man. So it's, let me see. If you look at it from an aerial point of view, you can see that it's a total of 4, 2, 1, 3, 1, 1, and actually it's 5, 2, 1, and 3, 1, 1.
So my game plan on this one, man, first and foremost is to comp out after repair value. But you hear from me every single day on this. So I kind of want to hear Zach's answer first.
Well, I mean, I say the same thing to everybody. If this is off market, like it looks like it's too good to be true. And so when it's too good to be true, it's usually a gift, or it's too good to be true and you're getting scammed. Either way, you got to take it. So I would sign the contract and then just see what a buyer can buy it for. Worst case scenario, you get out of it. I know it's not the best advice to say, but like, this seems like a great deal, man. I would lock it up.
It's horrible.
I don't have pictures though.
It's totally distressed. I'm trying to see if I could do you the
Surface level, man. You've got his estimate of 273, and of course, estimate's not always right, but you've got his estimate of 273. I see active listings here for 360, 235. The 235 is a distressed house, and 1.4 million. So I can see a reason for this estimate to be true. And if you have this thing at 130 and it's got his estimate of 270, more times than not, it probably is a deal. I'd be a little bit more analytical, but as I pull up the sales history, I see low end we're getting 199 for a 935 square foot 2-1. That is 2022, so I should go past 6 months. But really, I'm not seeing anything too low. It seems like people are definitely renovating houses here. Bakersfield, California is a lower income but somewhat popular market in California. And we've got a lot of buyers there, and I'm sure Zach does as well. However, as a gift for Zach coming on here, I want to give him first dibs on this one. If you want to JV with Zach, man, I think he'd love to send this out to his team and see if he can market it.
That's shit, man. I'd love to. I'd love to do that for sure. I actually need some help on it. Like I said, this portfolio, it's being sold off market right now, and they're giving the seller about 3 weeks before they put it on the MLS.
I'll give Zach first on this. If Zach thinks it's a deal, I want Zach to run with it. I don't need to be a part of it. I super appreciate his time coming on here speaking to us.
Let me just run the numbers real quick on this thing. 13.
Would you mind sharing your screen as you run the numbers? We're super curious.
Yeah. Let me just pop one thing on here.
Hey, Rich, I also have a Section 8 out in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Okay, yeah, we can check out your Section 8 as well. But hey, let's talk about this one real quick, and then he's going to share his screen.
On this thing.
We're going to check out his underwriting process here.
Well,
maybe Zach.
I feel like a jerk underwriting like this. So I'm just pop this up real quick and I'll show you. I'll literally tell you what I would do. And I'm not trying to be like a jerk doing this, because I feel like stupid saying that. But literally all I would do is I'd go here, I'd pop in the top flippers. This is just kind of like what you're used to, and just call them up. Like, okay, do you want to buy it? 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 And then I would go to landlords, pop it in, that'll load, and then just like find anything like right here. Boom, 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 boom. And just call them up. That's it. Like that's how my team underwrites it. So yeah.
And this is your software, Zach. So I understand. I've seen a lot of people talking about this in the chat.
Yeah, I'm not here to provide. Yes, that's how we underwrite it. The problem, the JVs get so much that we had to like figure a way to do it, and that's kind of the best way to do it. But I'm not trying to talk about it. But that's how I underwrite deals. So I send them out and I see what happens. I throw spaghetti on the wall. That's the best way to say it. But it's better to do that than not do any action.
Jerry Norton, take imperfect action. Jerry Norton would be a little salty about that, but honestly, we can see that it's worked for him. And I think
Shout out Jerry.
Yeah, I think they had that. Sure. Tell me, man, was that feud a little bit fake? Or was it actually a feud?
I went to Puerto Rico this year, and I tried to meet him. Didn't happen. Sad. I was there. I pulled up. That's all I can say. Dude, it's not there's no feud. I love the guy. He's great.
That's good. Yeah, he's a legend in the space. He's a little bit older than us, but guys, there's definitely a lot to learn from Jerry's page. So Zach, you think you can do something with that deal?
Yeah. I just got blasted out.
Okay. So
I just give it to my dispositions team and they just see what they can do. But
of course, that's what I would do.
I just get a JV signed. See what I can do there.
But I want you to profit off.
It'd be my first deal to make happen, and I've been in here for about 5 months. So
I want him to profit for his time with us here. So I'm not a part of that deal. Let's send that to him. Shoot it over to his DMs. He'll get it over to his team. You guys will stay in contact, and he'll get that dispoed for you. I'm sure of it.
You guys are amazing, man. Thank you guys for your knowledge and expertise, man. Honest to God.
Thanks for being here, for showing up. Yeah. Thanks for your persistence. Not always easy. All right, next person. And guys, I'll hang around after, okay? So don't think you gotta get me to answer your questions. I know it's Friday. I know we're
Is Bakersfield on your buy box cartel?
Everywhere is on buy box cartel for creative finance. As far as fix and flippers, there's no actual fix and flip. Well, maybe it is. I don't know.
I'm just curious. I have no idea.
I don't know. So if I go to California,
it's on there.
Well, why don't you do it yourself then, man? Like, I'd like to make some money, but if you already have the software, why don't you just do it? If he already has the buyers.
Of course, I'll make myself a $30K check off this. My business, my mind tells me the more you give, the more you get. And I want to work with you in the future, so I want to give you this deal.
Okay, well, if the software's got it, man, just use it.
What he's trying to say.
The reason I want to do is I want him to try to sell it, and if he can't sell it, then bring it to me and I'll get it sold.
Okay.
That's the way I like to look at it.
And I'm happy to help you out. What Zach's trying to say here is, Richard, $30,000 is fucking pennies to me. It's not worth my time.
No, it's worth my time. The problem is, St. James, I'm not going to be no pun intended, I'm not going to hold your hand and wholesale it with you. Like it would be like someone on my team, like, okay, well, and then I don't deal with it. So if you're looking for someone to, work with you on there, I'd probably work with him because it won't be me.
Saint, let's run it, man. Submit this to your our cash JV tab right here. But Zach, you're saying that if we were at the park together and I tried to hold your hand, you wouldn't be down for that?
No.
Okay, guys, let's bring somebody else up. Thank you so much, Saint. We'll be in touch soon, man. Okay.
All right, man. Thanks.
Okay, we got a lot of me's in the chat. And stop. Cash flow magnet. He's a magnet for cash flow. Let's bring him up. Hey, man.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, how you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I have a hybrid deal. This will be my first deal, but I think I have a deal, and I put everything on the creative offer of it, and I'm looking at a 23% COC. Just want to see what's the next step, basically.
I can answer that question. I'd like to keep you up here, but I want to honor Zach's time. Is there, because I'd love to help you out, but the first thing I'm going to say is, have you called the seller? Have you done outreach to them, and are they interested in the offer?
Yes.
Well, then let's keep you up here. I want to see if we have unique questions because that's a hold my hand wholesale question. You put it into the creative offer oven. He doesn't know what the creative offer oven is. This is hold my hand wholesale stuff. So stay up here. I'm going to help you out with that. Okay. But is there anything you want to ask Zach about our interview today, or anything about his differing strategy? Because we don't have much more time with him here.
Yeah, if he can break down the LAO, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So LAO is just 70% of MAO. That's pretty much it. So if you offer 30% below what a buyer will pay for, that's what you should offer on the first by far. And my goal is different than agents. This is off market. If everybody in here who does off market just does 20 grand below what they're usually offering, 5% of the time they're going to say yes instantly, and you're going to make more. You never know how much you're going to make. Like when I made 120 grand on a deal, I didn't know unless I made the offer. I could have made 50 on that. So lower offers more money.
Okay.
Somebody says, Zach, are you debt free? I would venture to say Zach is in millions of dollars of debt, just like I am. But it's positive debt as well.
Don't get me started with that, man. The only way that you lose out in the real estate game is if you have leverage. That's it. What did Warren Buffett say? He said the 3 L's: liquor, leverage, and ladies. And if you can, those are the only 3 ways you go broke. And you gotta be very careful. So that's how you do it. If you over leverage, you're done. And I've seen people on the other 2 lose everything in real estate. It's not even a joke. So just think about, hey, how could I become bankrupt? And if you own real estate without any debt, there's no way you're going to.
Guys, I'm in millions of dollars in debt, and it's at 0 to 2% rates. I love it. Excellent. Makes me a lot of money.
Talking about a subject too.
Seller finance too. I'm closing next week on 0% and an Airbnb in the Poconos, which is a vacation area in Pennsylvania.
That's a good area.
Yeah,
Like East Strasburg, that's a good wholesaling market.
So I've got I'm about to close on my first Airbnb. I've never done it before, but 0% interest, baby, 0% interest. So yeah, I love going in 0% interest.
I'm not debt free though, by the way. I'm not debt free. The rentals I own are debt free, but a subject like the subject twos I own, there's debt to them. So
In somebody else's name. Yeah. Okay. Cash flow magnet. Anything else he can help you out with?
No, that's it. I actually followed Zach a few years ago, so I've gotten a lot of tips from him from a while back. So appreciate his knowledge.
awesome. Thanks, man.
Okay, three more. We'll go quick. Daniel Lewis. Oh, it's not letting me bring you up. I think he left the stream. If I can't bring somebody up, usually it means they left the stream. All right, with John.
Yeah, you just gotta be careful on Airbnb. Like your number one priority should just being Superhost. Once you get Superhost, dude, it gets so much easier.
Really?
You just gotta get one account to Superhost. And then the also secret is also have it on VRBO at the same time, sync the calendars, because a lot of older people love VRBO. And you can kind of you can do both and get the marketing. You'll find people will only do VRBO. If you list it on there, you'll find extras too.
I'm doing Airbnb, hot pads, VRBO, and my business strategy on it is to fully renovate the property just for tax reasons and then charge absurdly less than my competition to the point where I'm unprofitable for 2 months, where I'm not making any money for 2 months and just bring in the reviews left and right. Like, how the hell did I get this property for so cheap? Then bring back up to market value.
That's it, man. Get the reviews. You're good to go.
That's what I'm trying. Hey, this is one of our community helpers. He focuses largely on seller financing multifamily. We landed on you. John, how you doing, man? Oh, rip. He just dropped. Let's bring him back up. Sometimes it glitches him out. John, are you wanted to ask a question? It's okay if not. Oh, there he is.
Sorry, Richard. I didn't have any question. I was just helping one of the community helper doing the call for her agent.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, we'll chat later, man. Thanks. Okay, let's find another me. We landed on this guy, Grizzly, number 3. Hey, Grizzly, how you doing, man?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing really well.
So this is my first day in here, and I want to ask Zach, what are XPs? I'm seeing a lot of people asking about that.
Yeah, that's just the software on my side. It's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, it's basically alternative to just list pulling. Pretty much it, and Dispo. If you're brand new, you don't really need it. Don't pay for software. Usually, if you haven't done any deals yet, or if you have no money, I see people spend the last $100 on a software, and then they oh man, I got nothing now. So yeah.
All right, I think that's pretty much it.
Grizzly, I'll give you a start here thing. Stick around because I'm gonna talk about how to find your first deal on Zillow. After Zach heads out here, so stick around, man. We'll talk about how to find your first deal. These live streams are normally geared towards I'm gonna find a deal, I'm gonna call, I'm gonna close, I'm gonna give it away to a random person in here. So we'll do that a little bit later. Stick around, man. We'll help you find your first deal.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, that's number.
I don't like how you guys have to use PropStream for your buy box cartel. You got to get to a point where you can basically you can find. I tell people you can find who PropStream gets their data from because they just basically wholesale the data and pull that into buy box cartel, and then you own that data, and no one has to use PropStream anymore for your people.
Yeah, I could, but I have another incentive. I'm an affiliate. I'm an affiliate of PropStream. So it's we actually we are barely profitable as wholesalers, and that's something that people don't know. I hardly make anything off of wholesale. I make about 75 a month off of wholesale. I do 260 to 300 a month wholesaling. I make 75. Why? I give all of it back to the community. Our group leaders in here, they keep 70% of the assignment fee on deals that we dispo. After payroll and after everything, sure. I mean, we have a lot of people, and I'll make 75 a month off of wholesaling houses, but we're doing hundreds of thousands. I'm not making very much. What I do get is dibs on really great deals for my portfolio. But my business model largely is we'll show you that we can wholesale. We'll run the operation. I got 22 employees behind the scenes wholesaling our houses, from student outreach to dispositions managers to transaction coordinators. And we do the business and we do it well, but I'm not making a ridiculous amount off of wholesaling unless it's my own deal off of my own acquisitions efforts. And then 9 times out of 10, I'm keeping that myself. So my business model is we're going to wholesale and give you guys all of the money back. I'm going to make my money off of subscriptions, affiliate marketing, wholesale, and then rental properties as well.
I like it.
Yeah. So we're let's bring up another person. Kent, what's up, man? Kent's got some crazy deals right now.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing well.
Hey, man.
So, Zach, I have a question for you.
Oh, yeah.
As this community and Richard knows, I have struggled with motivation, and I've almost quit, multiple times. When you started your journey, what kept you motivated? Because some people ask me what keeps me motivated, and I like to tell them, kind of find your why. What's your why to make this successful? Can you elaborate on what drove you to be successful? Because I know in the beginning it probably was a little bit hard, to stay motivated if you keep getting no's. I just wanted you to, give some sort of motivational speech for those that aren't as driven as I've come to be.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of ways. So I was always motivated. If you give a 17-year-old 20 grand, he tends to just keep wanting to do it. And I don't think I've ever really had a struggling year since I was 17. And maybe that's just privilege for me. And I tell people, like Rick's my dad, he did well too. I definitely have privilege on that end. But I also have privilege where I'm the only guy who can just teach people for free, roughly. You know what I mean? Back in the day. Motivation, when I talk to an average person, I usually ask them 2 questions. For you, Kent, how old are you?
39.
29? Do you love your mom?
39.
39. Do you love your mom?
39.
39.
My mom is no longer here, unfortunately.
Sorry to hear that. For most people, I ask them, do you love your mom? They're like, of course. I'm like, well, go retire her. And that usually ends the conversation for 80% of people. I think we all love our moms. If you're 39 and you got do you have any kids?
No.
Okay, even easier. Well, you just got to go out here and do you have a job?
And I hate it.
Good. What work?
I've been a welder for 17 years.
Oh, Lord. What more motivation do you need, man? Dude, that is hard. That is hard, man. Right?
Yeah. It's especially if it's a real strain on your body as well. It's not for the weak of heart. I'll give you that.
Dude, how are you having a motivation issue? Being a welder, being man, for my health and my wealth. It's not even just your wealth; it's your health now, and then the mental toll it is.
Well, for me, I get mentally distraught quite easily because I have mental issues. That's a whole nother thing. But anyways,
okay,
I get into these little balls of where, fuck, I don't want to do it, but then I keep telling myself, what's your why? And I think about having to work for someone to make them money and them not appreciate the fact that I do that for them. I just wanted you to kind of give some motivation for other people in this Discord that are in this live right now that might not be as motivated as I've become over the last couple of months. And Rich can attest to that. He, brought me on stage a month ago and I was almost to the point of quitting, and my motivation's changed a lot. But I just wanted you to speak on behalf for those who aren't motivated.
Yeah, Kent, this is easy for you. Have you ever seen the new AI Tesla robots?
Yeah.
In 5 to 10 years, that thing might take your job, and you will have to wholesale. And you are going to be on the streets if they decide that that's what AI is going to do, which is it's a very dangerous job for individuals. They're taking that away. So you have this ticking time clock right now of you're going to be out of a job, and you need to figure it out. Most human beings don't do something until they have to. I guarantee if you got fired from your job and you're not allowed to weld anymore, you would probably figure out wholesaling pretty dang quick. You would buck up pretty quick because it's not of hey, because you have this job, like you have this job in the back end that okay, if it doesn't work, I can do it. You don't have a job anymore in 5 to 10 years. So there's this slow bulldozer coming down at you, and you're just staying still, not doing anything. You have to do it. Like you have to. You don't have a choice. And the best way, I don't know the whole methodology here, but I know for a fact, I think Richard could say this. Richard, do you think if Kent made 100 offers on creative finance, 100, and he did your script word for word in his local market, you think he'd get one deal?
Absolutely, but it really depends on the way that it comes across. So we worked with Kent, and he was using a variation of my script, but then there were some things that needed to be tweaked. And I think if he stays with those tweaks, he'll get his first deal. And you know what? He's found one. He's found something crazy.
Three of them, actually.
He's found something beautiful since that conversation. So yes, the answer is yes.
There we go. Dude, just
It's not
put
one,
100 down. See? But like I tell anyone, like just if that's what your method, just do the little tallies and then don't complain till you get 100. That's it. You'll find at like 40, oh dang, I got a deal. Simple. I tell people cold calls, like make 4,000 cold calls. Guarantee you will not get a deal doing that.
Kent, my sentiment on motivation is you already have it. If you didn't, you wouldn't be here. My marketing is very, very blunt. I like to say, this business, you'll probably fail. You will probably fail. But if you're here, you have the motivation. If you're one of the people right now, 6 p.m. EST, 7 p.m. EST on a Friday night, you're here, you have the motivation already. It exists within you. And I think it's only natural to fear that something that you already have is going to go away. So, you can lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink. I can let people know that one of the legends of the wholesaling community is going to be with us. They're not going to show up. It's not for them. Most people in Hold My Hand Wholesale will fail. Most people who try this business will fail. That's just a fact of the matter. But it's those of you who have that voice in your head that says, get the fuck up. You'll succeed. You will succeed. And I can hear that it's present within you, Ken.
Oh, yeah. Kent, have you ever read the Ric Flair story on his plane crash?
No, I have not, actually.
Do you like Ric Flair?
Best wrestler ever.
Look up his plane crash. They said he was never, ever going to wrestle again after he had a plane crash. A year later, he was in the ring. And every doctor told him he could never do it. The recovery is too brutal. He's like one of the most brutal plane crashes. You have Ric Flair in your thing, dude. He was going back to wooing after a year. And they said he was not even going to make it. He should have died. What do you think motivated him? Look up that story, man. If you love Ric Flair, he probably has one of the most motivating stories after his little plane crash. Look it up, man.
I'm going to do that.
That thing will get you jacked up, bro. Love Ric Flair.
Yeah, that's all I really had is just, for those that aren't as motivated as I have become, just, to kind of try help them, find ways to get self-motivation. Because I believe that I'm at that point where motivation might not be an issue for me going forward, given my conversation with Rich, about a month ago.
I think it either is or isn't there. I don't think it can be created. My dad asked me to mentor a 15-year-old. He met a 15-year-old who was down in the dumps, and he said, will you mentor him? And I said, yep, Dad, I'm happy to do that. But I just want to let you know, I have had so many friends who have seen me make $100,000 in a month wholesaling houses who are so jacked up about it one night, the moment I'm in front of them. And then the next day, it's like, where'd you go, man? Where'd you go, man? What happened? So if you're here, you're here. If you don't have the motivation, you don't have the motivation. For me, what the motivation sounds like is it's kind of like almost mental illness. You're sitting, you're enjoying yourself, and then the back of your head, like depression comes in. You need to do more. You're not doing enough. You need to get more.
Yep.
You need to acquire environment where you need to do this. And it's not like oh, you should do this, like a sweet voice. It's my father's voice. And it's not nice. It's not something nice that I hear in my head. And before I had any money whatsoever, it was brutal. It was like bring you to tears brutal. Like you are going to be fucking homeless if you don't figure this shit out. Look at your grades, look at what you're worth. You're worth absolutely nothing, so create value for yourself right fucking now. And it
Grab some water real
drove
quick.
It's crazy that you said that because that is exactly me right now. Because I have some money, because I got an inheritance after my mom passed. But when that runs out, it'll be like a paycheck to paycheck thing, and I'm not gonna fucking let myself do that. That's why I'm gonna make this shit work.
You will, and you are. And Kent, your resilience sticking through this, even though there's been ups and downs, it's inspiring. It's inspiring to other people. So you're asking people where they get their motivation from. You are a source of motivation.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, hey, we're running out of time for Zach, so we'll bring one more person up. But you were going to say something. I'm sorry.
Oh, Ric Flair, man. Look it up. Cool dude.
Guys, 1,000 me's in the chat right now. 1,000 me's in the chat. We got to figure out that final person. I see 3. I see. We got 270 people in here. That's good numbers for Friday night. You guys are good numbers here. But let's choose one. There's not too many me's in the chat. We're just selecting out of the people who put me right here. Stop. Got this guy right here. Nico Suave. I like the name. Catch you later, Kent.
What the? Hey guys.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Honestly, I didn't expect to get picked. I'm like really new to wholesaling, all of this, and I've just been trying to go to every single live stream and just learn. But just Jesus, I don't even. Thank you guys for taking the time. One of my questions would be, there's so many different avenues for wholesaling. What do you think is like the best avenue for a beginner?
I mean, there's different approaches.
We have very different answers, but you'll hear from me a lot in these live streams. I want you to hear from Zach today.
Okay.
Dude, you'll get it from anywhere. Like, I think we both like working out, right? It's like you got the science-based lifter guys, and then you have like the heavy metal, like super crazy. Like, there's different ways to work out, and most of those guys are all jacked. So, like, they're both going to get you there. There's just different approaches. But the problem is when you try to do both at the same time, it usually gets all screwy. So I found if you try on-market, creative, all at the same time as a newbie, because you have, and then you get screwed up. Personally, if you're a beginner, where do you live?
I live in New Mexico.
Like Albuquerque area?
Yes.
Like, if you're a beginner, pull the pre-foreclosure list. This is what I tell people. Just put sticky notes on the door. Hey, this is Zach. Got a quick question about your property. Please give me a call back. Put 200, you'll get a deal doing that. That's what I tell people to do. You can also just call. You can text. I mean, you got anything that I do or whatever he does. I mean, they're all going to work.
A lot of different approaches. I'd say the commonality between all approaches is that they work. I never see a wholesaler on market saying something and I'm like, that shit doesn't work. Fuck you. You're lying. I know it's worked for them at some point. That's a great answer, Zach.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a million ways to make money in real estate.
Zach, where can they reach you? Where can they follow you? You don't need it, but we're going to give it to you. Where can everybody reach you? Where can everybody JV with you? If you got your, we need to plug you. And anyway, I tried to give you a deal.
If I could get a plug, the best thing I could tell anybody in here is if you go to my Discord, and because they're all off market, and say, hey, if you need help selling your deal, reach out to me, and then go to buy box and then just do that. That'd probably be like the easiest way to make 10 grand. Just go to the people in my community, say, hey, you got a deal locked up? Yeah, I can't sell it though, bro. It's locked up too high. You put it through Richard's software, JV it, and then you guys split 10K. The cool part about that is they're all off market, so you could probably squeeze a little more. That's just me. And I think that'd be the best way everyone can do it.
You got the link for that, man? How can everybody join?
Just search wholesaling on Discord and it'll pop up. like Discovery, and just search wholesaling. There's only 2 Discord servers. If you search wholesaling, you got the clown one and you got us. That's it. Just search wholesaling and then boom. There's only 2 that pop up.
There we go. There we go. All right. All right. Well, you know, if he won't do it, I'll do it. Zach's Instagram is Flip with Zach. It is Flip with Zach. It looks
There we
like
go.
this. I want to see that go up by a large number right now. Let's put the name in there. Flip with Zach.
Cool. Appreciate it.
With Zach in the chat. Go ahead and give him a follow. The Discord link is in his bio. You can find it right there. He's changing lives for free on a daily basis, and yeah, Zach, this has been amazing. Are you looking to collaborate on a podcast? Is that still something you're wanting to do?
Yeah, you sent me some interesting names, man. That like, dude, it's just hard finding younger people that actually do the business, and it's even harder to find younger people that are actually good at the business or willing to actually talk. Like, I don't say this much, but like, I'm excommunicated from any big wholesaling podcast, like every single one. So I'm like, well, let's talk to the young guns, and then they can talk to me, and they're not excommunicating me. So we're good to go. I'll tell you this. I give you a shout out. The only reason I'm on here is you don't have this $14,000 program to sell somebody on a credit card, right? Like, you got $20 a month. Like, dude, I say this a lot. If you're selling these $17,000 programs, I think it's kind of sleazy. Like, don't do it. Like, come on. $20 a month, that's all you need. Talk to you. Man, people are charging 15 grand for what you're doing, right? Like, I think that's the old stupid stuff, man.
I talk about that all the time. It feels disgusting, and it comes down to my reasoning of, I don't think this business will work for you. I know my information is good. It probably won't work for you. So why are we paying so much for it, right? You know, what's the worst case? You lose $20? Okay, worst case, you lose $20. And we give away $26,000 a year to the Discord. So more realistically, you'll make money just from our fucking giveaways in here. So, anyways, guys, follow Zach. Zach, I'll reach out to you, man. I think we got things to chat about in regards to Buy Box Cartel, you know, partnering up there. I'd love to go ahead and do a podcast with you, get that started. I don't think we need a third. I thought about it, and I thought about some of the sentiments behind what the third person's mindset may be. Maybe we need a third, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that. I think we'd fucking crush it. I think we'd crush it on the podcast. And yeah, man, thank you so much for stopping by, and thank you so much for spending.
Yo, Richard, can I squeeze in a question really quick? I waited till the end because I didn't want to but I kind of know Zach. Zach, what's up? It's Moises.
How's it going, man?
How you doing?
I'm good.
I'm doing good. Really quick, when Richard gave you that example on market, and you went and looked at the sold price, and you noticed that it was like maybe what was it, like 360, and then you added the appreciation. What appreciation did you add there per year?
So I know my market like really good, and I know exactly how much it's appreciated. So this is a stretch, but sometimes I like to stretch if I have no comps and I see a comp on the property. Worst case scenario, I know what the market appreciation for that zip code is because I own rentals in that zip code. Roughly 50% right now in the past 5 years. That is just roughly a comp in my head. And that is just, it's a guiding light to where I should be. Just a range.
What percentage was that? 15?
Yeah, it was about 10% for the past 5 years in that zip code in Florida.
Right. But then did you multiply by like 0.70 or 0.80? Because usually you say just multiply times 0.7.
1.5 times 2, whatever. That's how we do it.
1.5?
You're overthinking this, man.
All right. I got you. No, I'm just saying because usually you'll take the asking price and you would have just multiplied it times 0.70. And on this one, it was like your number came up higher, basically. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little higher, but that's just a comp. But that's it sold for like 5-10 years ago. It was nicer. That's how I came up with it. It's just roughly a range, man. LAO, though.
Yeah,
LAO.
I got you. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
But yeah, it's an interesting idea what you had there. Richard, if you call me, I can tell you my thoughts on it. I have other thoughts on things like that. I know a lot of behind the scenes drama with things. It gets quite interesting.
I don't want to cause drama. What I was going to say would have caused problems. But yes, I've had some interactions with some of the people that we've considered bringing on, and it seems to be profit first and people second, and that rubs me the wrong way. Let's chat at a later date. Massive thank you to Zach Ginn.
Before you leave,
Ginn, not Ginn.
There we go.
I'm so sorry. I have to say this. It's not for me. It's some guy named JPack in the chat. He asked me to ask you, brother man, can you ask Zach quick that I have a deal sent over to his channel? I had to just ask you. He asked me to ask you, so I don't
Where
know.
did he send it?
I
Did
don't.
somebody on my team reach out?
It's the guy named JPack163. He just
Have him
told me
email-
that.
Have him DM me, and I'll look at it. But like, what do you mean? Like he texted a deal to me, DM me a deal, or did he put it through the right channel?
To your dispo.
Okay. I mean, let me look at it. Most likely got denied, and you got an email.
Okay.
We are living in very similar. I don't think I've ever heard anybody answer the question I answer on a daily basis. You check your email, bro. You check your.
Most people don't look at their email, dude.
Yeah. Very, very similar situation in our side of things with the JVs. Anyways, guys, I'm not going to take up too much of his time. It's late, East Coast. It's late, and this is Friday night. You know, he's got stuff to do. So massive thank you to Zach in the chat. Give him a follow and flip with Zach on Instagram. And hope to catch you soon, man. Keep killing it.
All right. Thanks. Appreciate it, guys.